So this will only be for some people. And if you're part of that some people, then you know that that we're on the road that most people are not on, okay? And you know who the shepherd is, right? You know who the shepherd is. I mean, that's the one thing, is that God always sends a shepherd. He said, I mean, he's here. And he gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the shepherds, and teachers. When in the Bible were any of those people like your priests or any of that? They weren't. They were always murderers. They were always sinners. They were always what this world would say, no, that's not a... I mean, even Moses himself said, God, how are people going to believe that I'm supposed to be shepherding them? Or that they're supposed to be following me? And God said, leave that up to me. But he was a murderer. Look at all the disciples. So, of course, the shepherd would be what this world would laugh at. This world would make fun of. This world will tell you that you're being deceived by. Yeah. So I had told the story about how, like, I think it was 2018, I started seeing, I'm not going to tell this whole story again, but I started seeing 11:11 every day, 3 or 4 times a day, without fail. Went on every single day until the fall of 2020. Okay, like, that's more than a coincidence. Never hit. I mean, when it finally stopped was when I realized, well, one, that I had to speak up, because at that time I had been emailing the White House about these blacklisted cameras Northwestern put in, and blah 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 blah. And so then it was like, no, you have to speak up. You're going to have to do it. It's like, oh, okay. And then, you know, like, I've been diligent. Like, I told people, like, pray every day. Praying, it doesn't mean you have to get on your knees. I mean, I get on my knees in the morning, but even throughout the day, just talking to God, whether in your head or journaling. I've said it a million times, that's all praying to God. You just want to keep that connection going. So I've been diligent about that. Because there's times, like in my sobriety, I've fallen off that path, and I always pay the price. I mean, I don't drink, but I end up, you know, just falling into a lot of bad behavior. It's just not good stuff, but not drinking. So I've been very diligent about that. And so there's times when I'm like, you know, because, like, I call Elon Musk out, and I'm on the fence with RFK Jr., as I've said, and there's some others, but I don't call them all out. But I'm always like, oh, well, God, I don't know. Everybody, you know, thinks you could trust this one and that. And what I would always get for the past 4 years when I would pray, and I'm not going to say would hear, but have placed on my heart, let's say, is that a spirit would basically put on my heart that, no, if you're walking with me closely every day, then you need to follow your first instinct, because it's coming from me. I mean, it's when we're, you know, up and down with keeping that conscious contact with God going, that where you can get off, and then you're just following your own will, or you're following what you believe. But that's what I would always get. I'm like, no, maybe I'm wrong. And God it would always come, every time I start thinking that's what would be put on my heart, is, no, you've been walking with me every day closely. So that's when you need to trust your first instinct. So that's why it's like, I know people think, oh, I'm so mean to Elon, or it's like, look, the thing is God gives a lot of time. He gives thousands of years. He would basically give the world all the time it needs to, you know, come into where they need to be. But because of this world, he ends up having to intervene. And when it comes to what they were going to do with technology, which is take your free will away, and they really already have done that in many ways, if you think about it, with all the manipulation and head games that have gone on, all these lies that we've been fed. Yeah. But with the technology aspect of it, it will take it to a whole new level, which is what their plan was, which is to take away free will. So see, that is an area where God has to know, because God, even though God says the whole world lies with the wicked one, he's not going to let it all lie with him to where nobody can find their way to him. And America's very much been the lighthouse, as I've said. We're the biggest Christian nation. And so even if the rest of the world is falling apart, as long as there's that lighthouse that people can get to, then God won't intervene, because God doesn't intervene on free will, unless you ask him for help. Obviously it's different for those that follow him, but otherwise, no. If you want to let make stupid laws for your country, if you want to follow stupid people, then it's like, yeah, it's not, as long as not what you're doing isn't breaking his laws. That's the key. You can live under all the stupid laws you want otherwise. But he has to intervene once free will is taken away so much that no one can find him. Then that's a deal break. Like, that's a breaker. That's when he has to intervene. So what would he do before he intervenes? He would send a shepherd. He would send a shepherd to. This is even though the world is going to think this is just about an election and about cleaning up corruption, and there's going to be only the few flock members, let's say, that are going to know that it's much bigger, and that the role of who we know is the shepherd, what their role really is. And that's what it's always been about. So God sends them all. So even though this world would laugh at and tell you that, oh, you're following the false prophet, and no, they are. And I think at this point, I believe that God has turned over. You know how it says God will turn them over to their delusions because they didn't want to see the truth. That he's done that. It's sad. That's sad, because that would be a lot of Christians. Because you have to be willing to see the truth. That's the reason why they've wanted to deceive people for so long with Elon Musk. They've gotten some people in around Trump, and so they think they'll be able to control the next 4 years, because they don't realize that this is much bigger than that. They don't, and many of these people think that they're Christians. I mean, I literally think some of them believe that they're Christians, and they have no idea what awaits them. Some of them definitely know what awaits them. They know the path they're on. They know the life they've led, and they don't want to, they likely don't have a heart anymore to do anything about it. But regardless, so, and many of those people, that have pushed the Musk stuff, they've done that because all that side can do is delay it. They can only stall. So that's why they need to get as many people still believing that some of these people, it's the dream team. Yeah, no, it's not. And God's going to use all of that's surrounding Trump to show his glory. That's what he'll do. He'll show his glory through that, because most people would be like, no, I can't accept that those people are still tied to globalism and the deep state. And it's like, well, yeah, no, I could see God doing it that way, because God likes to do things that way so that he can prove his glory. The key for people that want to know the truth and don't want to live in the worshiping of Elon Musk and others is to realize, again, that God said there would be more going to the wrong gate. They're going to the wrong gate. That's why he said, find the right gate. There won't be many people on the path that are on the path of the right gate. So it's important to realize that, because I think that especially with this Elon Musk stuff, and seeing all this stuff where people are, immediately then not doing any thinking, not doing any discerning, just saying, oh, Trump is part of the beast system. Like, God isn't impressed with that at all, because that's literally following the wicked one that taught everyone this. I mean, Elon Musk coming out and putting wires in people's brains and chips. It's so obvious that it was deliberately done to deceive all of those people to think that that's coming, when that book has been playing out. People are saying, oh, the two witnesses are coming. Yeah, no, that happened like thousands of years ago. That book has been playing out for thousands of years. We are at the end. But there's a ton of Christians, unfortunately, that didn't want to see the truth of that. Forget what the churches and the experts have taught them, and go to the true expert, the Spirit, to be the teacher. So if you're on the right road, there's going to be very few of us. But be happy.